Welcome to another episode of I Speak African. I'm your host, and today let's talk about Ashlee Jenae. What happened to her was very unfortunate. At the same time, people need to take responsibility for their actions and all parties involved. This woman was only seeing Joe McCann for about a year and a half before he proposed to her. That is, especially in America, that is a very short time to accept anyone's proposal, especially this day and age. I say for somewhere else in the world, but America, that is too short of a time to know anyone. A year and a half, and that's saying even if they live together, which I don't think they live together, because I know she's from Philadelphia. I don't know where he's from, but I don't think they live together. But that is way too short, and people shouldn't act like she was not doing some kind of escort stuff. That's exactly what she was doing. Joe McCann knew exactly what she was doing. He knew exactly who she was before he started messing with her. You can easily look at her, her Instagram, her TikToks, her Twitter. Believe me, he knew who she was, and also he has a fetish for black women because his last woman, who was his ex-wife, she was some kind of, I don't know if she was black or half black and half Hispanic or something like that, or she could have just been like Puerto Rican, some kind of Puerto Rican mix. I don't know what she was, but he has like mixed kids, so he has a thing for black women or women who have black, who are half black or something like that. And the sad thing is that when things like these happen, when women go on these platforms and they broadcast their life like this and they say, look at me, like I'm going to Dubai, I'm going to wherever, I'm going to Seychelles, I'm going to Mauritius, and all these nice places, Bali, whatever. They're just displaying a fantasy. They're not displaying real life. But all these other girls are copying them, and they're like, oh, I wish I had that. I wish I had this. And people are saying on her thing, I wish I had love like that. And it's like, how is that love? You don't know if that's love or not. Like, what are you talking about? It's a picture. Even if it's a video, videos don't show everything. They're not living with Ashlee and Joe. They're just seeing what she chooses to show people on her social media platforms. And, this behavior of hers, like, I can understand. I mean, when I first heard about this, I thought, okay, maybe she grew up without her father. But it turns out, no, she grew up in a two family household or two parent household. Her parents were married, both black. Her mother, I don't know if it was the mother who divorced the father or the father who divorced the mother, but they got divorced. And then when the father remarried, he remarried a black woman. But it seems like the mother remarried before the father remarried, and when the mother remarried, she remarried a white man, and she did it when Ashlee Jenae was still very young. And that explains a lot of Ashlee Jenae's behavior. Because I was thinking, why is she saying all these things about black men ain't this and black men ain't that? And it's like, yeah, her mother probably filled her head with a lot of nonsense about, your father wasn't no good, and look, I got this white man now, and look what he's doing for us. Like, we live in this house now, he's taking care of us. And it's, I was watching one of the videos of her parents giving an interview to a local ABC News. And when I was watching that video, it's just showing her biological mother and her biological father. It's not showing her stepfather or her stepmother. But then I saw another video, which I'm going to share with you guys, and it's showing her parents and her step-parents. And it turns out that her stepfather is white. And, because if her biological father was not in her life, I can understand her behavior. But you can also tell that she lived predominantly with her mother and stepfather, because no black father would be allowing his daughter to do all that stuff she's doing now. I mean, before she passed. No black father. Her running around half naked, her doing, 304 behavior. Nah, he wouldn't allow that. He would not. And you can, so that's how you can tell that he didn't like, he was there. He probably doesn't live in the same state as her. I wouldn't be surprised if, if the father and stepmother moved away, or maybe they moved further away from where she was brought up, or further away from where, yeah, she was brought up. But there's no way a black father is going to be allowing is better, let me say, he's not going to be okay with his daughter doing that. And, my gripe with both black men and black women who date interracially, is that how they go about dating. Now, I don't care what people do. It's none of my business. But have you noticed that when it comes down to dating interracially, the standards for non-black people suddenly change? So when a lot of black men date non-black women, suddenly these women don't have to be beautiful. They can be plain, overweight, all this stuff that they would not accept from a black woman. But then when, a black woman dates a non-black man, i.e. a white man or an Asian man, he doesn't have to be, 6 foot. He doesn't have to, be this or that. It's like, why is it that when we date each other, like our men need to look like Morris Chestnut or Michael B. Jordan, and our women need to look like Ashlee Jenae because she's a very pretty woman? Why is it that we can't accept the fact that not all of our men look like Michael B. Jordan or Morris Chestnut, and not all of our women look like Ashlee Jenae? We're all flawed, but it's like we don't want to deal with that when we're dating each other. We don't mind dealing with that at all, or being realistic when we're not dating black people. Now, there are a lot of people out there that are saying that she deserved she got what she deserved. I disagree with that, because just because, she decided to date, this guy doesn't mean that she deserves to be unalive. Like, she didn't, you can't fault some. I mean, you can fault them, but it's like, that's an extreme to say that she deserved to be unalive because she made a stupid decision. Like, she didn't commit any crime, and yeah, she was being negligent, and yeah, there is responsibility on her side and other people's side, but he deserves everything, like all the blame, because he's the one who did the action, or allegedly did the action. So although a lot of people are saying that, I don't agree with that thought process. And even though she said a lot of disparaging things about black men, I still disagree with that. But like I said, it was very strange. I remember when this first broke the news on social media, I was reading her talk about interracial relationships and mixed babies and all this, and I was like, this is weird. But then as I did more research, I found that her mother advocates for that. So, it rubbed off on her. And, it's like, because you guys saw pictures on an airplane of some lavish places, like I was saying, that doesn't mean that he likes her or even cares about her. It's like when somebody's like, what she's doing, that's what happens. You pay for what you want. He wants a beautiful black woman on his, around his arm, or holding his hand. That's a part of the aesthetic. You go to a ball or whatever, you go to a high class function, people are going to be like, oh, look at him. Like he has a beautiful woman around his shoulder or around his arm. And people are going to see beauty when it's there, even if they deny it. Like, you can say, oh no, she's ugly because she's dark skinned or whatever. People can say that because if they want to be racist, but the reality is that she's a pretty girl. And when people see that, they're like, oh, look at him. Like, it makes sense. He got money, so he can, afford to have a beautiful woman like that. So it's going to make him look better it's going to make him look more successful. That's why if you look at a lot of these athletes, look at the women that the athletes are dating. They're dating models. The athletes and actors are dating models. Like, it's either their first wife or their second wife is like some supermodel, because it comes with the appeal and the aesthetics. I'm super rich. I now need to have a super beautiful woman to go along with that wealth. And as you can see, this is exactly what happened with the Russian guy who was in Ghana and Kenya, and also Danish Deception. And if you haven't seen those videos, they're on my playlist. You can go check it out. Also, make sure you subscribe to my podcast for more content. But yeah, when people prioritize money over character, this is what you get. These examples are what you get. You get white men who are going to take advantage of black women because they know that their whiteness protects them. Their whiteness gains favor in this world, whether it's with the authorities or just with people. It gains favor, and they know this. Like, they weren't born yesterday, So it's like, black people really need to stop this behavior. Black people are the only people on this planet who are constantly fighting each other. No other group does it to each other. And we really need to stop fighting, because it's not doing anything positive for our communities. Let's talk about her fiance, Joe McCann. Joe McCann knew exactly what he was doing when he met her. He also knew what kind of relationship they were in, and he also knew what he was doing when he decided to take her to Tanzania. Now, Joe is the CEO of a company called Asymmetric, and his company is a crypto investment firm. He made millions when I think he invested in something called Solana. I don't know pretty much anything about crypto, but that's how he made his wealth, or his millions. And this was some years ago. But last year, 2025, is when his company took a huge hit and nearly lost 80% of its overall capital, like due to market fluctuations and all that stuff. Again, things that I don't truly comprehend, and your average person doesn't. But that's how he lost a lot of his money. Now, me personally, I think that's probably what their big fight was about. I think he probably told her, like, yo, like, I'm broke. And she probably was like, what? Because, like, her whole thing is, like, I want to be rich. I want to, I want a man who can take me to, take me to nice restaurants. I want to do fine dining. I want to fly. Because even on that one video of her and him, they're in, like, the business class. And their business class looks like some places first class, like some airlines first class. So she wants that lifestyle. And I think that was probably what the fight was about, or it could have been about something else. He could have, I don't know, but that's just my assumption. I think he told her that that was what the fight was about. And I also believe that he also encouraged her to get, or he also suggested that they both get life insurance policies on, taken out on each other, or they should take out life insurance policies on each other. And she probably didn't think anything of it. And, she probably was like, okay, let's do it. Because you can take out a life insurance policy if somebody is engaged to you, or if you're, marriage or engagement. And most likely, he probably went to whatever life insurance and probably was like, yeah, we're already engaged. There's not really much to prove. Like, he could have, told her to wear a ring that day. It was like, let's go. And, I'm pretty sure the questions they ask are not going to be, especially since he's white, and they're going to be looking at his wealth and all this stuff. They're probably like, okay, yeah, whatever. They're probably going to cut corners and whatnot, or just, be very receptive to him because he's white. And he, I would not be surprised at all if he took out our life insurance policy on her. Because, like I was saying, I looked through her social media accounts, and she's never been to Africa before. And from, that's very strange. You never got to Africa, but, now suddenly he wants to take you to Africa. A lot of her videos have been in European countries like Switzerland, France, and Italy, and I think England, but never Africa. And when like, to be honest, Tanzania's not going to do a real investigation. They're not. And the Tanzania, most Africans care more about white people than they do black people. So they care more about their own country, like more about white people. They care more about white people than they do their own countrymen. So her being an American, probably like, I don't care. But from what I heard, like, of course, the Tanzanian government is not going to do a thorough investigation, and like, it's very common. It's not just in Africa, because I don't want people to think that I'm just like going on Africa, but no, anywhere in this world you can pay somebody off. They do. People get bribed here in America. They just call it, what do they call it? A tax break or a tax incentive, or people do all types of behind the, a lot of shady deals here in America. They're just not so blatant. Whereas in Africa, Tanzania, other African countries, and even, Asian countries or whatever, you can just bribe somebody, like, just easily just bribe somebody. So when I heard this, I was like, yeah, that's why he took her to Tanzania. Because, like, she unalived herself from a door? No. 2 days after she got engaged at the age of 31? That doesn't make sense. She's very pretty. She can easily get not only a better looking guy than him, she can get a richer guy than him. And I don't believe it at all. Now, I've heard that there are allegations that he's been taken into custody by Tanzanian government or customs or whatever. That doesn't mean that he was arrested or charged. And there are also speculation that he has frequently visited Tanzania in the past, and he also knows people who have helped him. Like, he has friends there, he has acquaintances there who have been willing to help him in the past. And if that's true, I'm pretty sure they'd be willing to help him now. Because before she knew Joe McCann, she was messing with Kevin Gates. Now, I hear a lot of women online criticizing black men and trying to blame black men for what happened. And like, well, if black men were better, she wouldn't be with a white man. That's not true at all. But also, I hear a lot of women criticizing black men mostly black men for making fun of how she's unalived, which I said I don't agree with that. But at the same time, where are all those women who were making fun of Kevin Samuels when he was unalived, just because of the fact that they did not like how Kevin Samuels interviewed women when they came on his show? And it's like, no, like, be consistent. You criticized Kevin Samuels when he was unalived, so why are you quiet now that this woman has been unalived? And I'm not saying that, it's right, but I'm saying wrong is wrong both ways. You can't say because you like this person that it's a tragedy, it's an issue when she is unalived, but because you don't like this other person, it's not a tragedy and it was justified, and that's why he's unalived, because he hurt your feelings. No, like, be fair. And the question myself and many people are asking is, why hasn't this alleged millionaire or multimillionaire Joe McCann paid for her body to be brought back to the U.S.? It doesn't make any sense. Like, why is her family making a GoFundMe when her fiance was a multimillionaire? And then another question is, which I know, but another question is, why hasn't her death, her unaliving, been made a national news story? Why are we not seeing it on national news at 7 o'clock? Why is it that only local news stations are picking it up, like, from where she's from? But it's not getting national attention, and that's crazy. It should be. She's an American. He's an American too. It should be national news. And but I want to say that there are 3 things that we as black people need to stop. 1, we need to stop demonizing each other. That needs to stop. Two, we need to stop glamorizing interracial relationships as if they're better, because they're not. And three, we need to stop accepting and condoning 304 behavior. Stop that. Like, that's not a flex it's not a flex if you look good, and then because you look good, you can monetize it by doing, like unsavory things or just being a 304. No, that's not a flex. Like, I can see if you were a model. Yeah, even though, models are half naked, but still, like, I can see if you're a model and you walk on the runway and then whatever, you go home. Yeah, not everybody could be a model, but to act like it's something special because you are very pretty and because men like pretty women, that's a flex somehow, and you're doing things, sex things, to get money. No, it's not a flex at all. It's not. We need to stop that. Now, what is a flex is education. Now, I am a strong advocate for education, but especially for Black women's education, and that's due to the history. You go back 50 years ago, 60 years ago, you didn't have, many Black women who were educated. When they were working very menial, small-paying jobs. But now in 2026 or the 21st century, you have women who are, they're doctors, they're DOs, they're dentists, they're nurse practitioners, lawyers, CPAs, and just to name a few. So like, that's a flex. Like, using your brain is a flex. Going to school, and you can do all those things by yourself. Like, you can go to school, and you can be those. You can take your exams and get good grades and get into those professions, and then you can do all that. Luxury, nice stuff that you see on social media. You can go to those, to the Seychelles. You can go to, wherever, Bali or whatever, or Dubai. I don't know so much about Dubai anymore because of what's happening over there. But you can go to these nice places with your friends who are also in similar professions or just in professions that pay pretty good money. You can do this and be safe. And not all this crazy stuff. That's what women should be doing. No woman should be looking for a man to pay for her stuff. No, especially not in this day and age. You can pay for it yourself. Go back to school, or at least go to school. If you don't want to, of course, being a doctor is difficult. It's not easy. Being a nurse, being a dentist is difficult. Same thing with a lawyer. But being like a regular nurse, a regular bedside nurse, that's like, in some states, that's 2 years of that's a 2-year program. Now, in some other states, it's a BSN that's like, 3 to 4 years or whatever. But still, it's not too difficult. Do it. And then you can be a traveling nurse and make a good amount of money, and then when you're not doing traveling, you can live your life the way you want to live it. But these things, this 304 behavior, that's not a flex. No. Stop involving yourselves in, these sexual, precarious situations. Stop it. Being an OnlyFans model is not dignified. Doing what this girl was doing is not dignified. It's not. There are dignified and noble professions that you can do where they can also earn you a lot of money. Selling yourself to a white man is not dignified, or whatever, divesting. That's not dignified. We live in the 21st century. Women are just as educated as men. Some are even more. Go to school. Stop being lazy. Go to school. I remember when I was in college, a lot of my classes were mostly women. It's actually, I think it was more women than men, or whatever, more boys less boys than there were girls, or there was more women in there. And it's like, even when you go to professional school, a lot of times you go to medical school, law school, you see a lot more women than you do men in those professions or in those schools. Continue doing that, But like I was saying earlier, again, we also need to stop this idea that white men are so good, they're so much better than black men, because if white men were so good, white women wouldn't be so unhappy. Now, look at former Congressman Eric Swalwell. For those who don't know, he was running for governor of California, and while he was a congressman, he was married with, I think, 2 kids, but he was still out here essaying and drugging white women and, doing whatever he wanted because he was a white man with a lot of, political influence behind him and a lot of money behind him. So he thought he could do whatever he wanted. And now look, he was forced to resign from Congress. And that's a white man with a white woman. And then look at even, you have this white doctor. He was in the news, just last week or 2 weeks ago. He was hiking with his wife on a mountain trail, and he decided he wanted to unalive her, started beating her up with a rock. It was only until 2 other women heard her screaming for help that they came over and they saw. But he was beating her up with a rock, and he was trying to throw her off a mountain. There's even another white guy. This also made national news. He and his wife are on a boat or something like that. They say that the boat, I think it capsized, and then they got onto a smaller boat, and somehow the water just engulfed her and took her under, and somehow he's the only one that survived, which a lot of people are saying is very fishy. And I agree with that. It's very fishy. No one else, just you survive? So you're a Baywatch, or you're just a really great swimmer? I don't know, but your wife didn't survive? Nah. So it's this idea that they're better when they're out here unaliving and mistreating their own women. How are they better? Even their own women aren't happy. If that were the case, every white woman in America would be happy and married to a white man, but they're not. But thank you for listening to another episode. Let me know what you guys. Let me know your thoughts, and make sure to like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more content. Feel free to reach out to me if you guys have any ideas, and I can be reached at ispeakafrican12@gmail.com. These same episodes can be downloaded on Spotify. Thank you, and stay blessed.